me now in studio, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Senator, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Welcome back. I want to talk first about the reconciliation bill and where you think things stand. Have you talked to Senator Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona? She is obviously a linchpin here. Democrats call this the Inflation Reduction Act. Senator Schumer needs every Democratic vote. Where do things stand right now?
Well, first, I think all of us were somewhat shocked by Senator Manchin's reversal of positions he had taken as recently as last week against raising taxes. This raises taxes. It increases the burden of taxation on lower income people significantly. Calling an inflation reduction bill is rather laughable. Independent analysis indicates it actually increases inflation in the next 2 years and may have an impact over 10 years. And their policies from last year have already produced 40-year high inflation. So it's a terrible package. It appears as if they're all in line but one, and it'll be up to Senator Sinema from Arizona, who's quite independent, to determine what the final contours of the bill are.
I asked people to tweet in if they had questions, and Joe tweeted, how did Senator McConnell get played on the reconciliation bill? Well, did you have a deal that the passage of the CHIPS bill would not lead to a bill that this was kind of sprung on you?
You know, reconciliation is something done by one party only. There's nothing we could have done to prevent the Democrats from doing a bill that only they will vote for. So it's not a question of being played here. What's the storyline here is that Senator Manchin had agreed to something that he had said publicly and privately over the last 2 weeks he would never agree to. We're not involved in a reconciliation bill. There won't be a single Republican vote for it. There's nothing we could do to deter it other than to criticize it publicly, and that's what we're doing right here.
So Democrats now are using your repeated citing of Democrat experts to tout this new bill. Take a listen.
Yeah, let me just quote Larry Summers. Larry Summers, don't take it from me. Listen to Larry Summers.
This bill is fighting inflation, and it's got a whole set of collateral benefits as well, but it's fair to call it the Inflation Reduction Act.
That's Larry Summers. That's Jason Furman.
I think it is quite important for things like climate change, protecting families from premium increases, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, and it does all of that while making progress on inflation.
So Summers and Furman are for this bill. Who's right here?
Well, the quotes they used me were Summers' observations about what they did last year. The $2 trillion they dumped on the economy that both Furman and Summers predicted would produce rampant inflation, and it did. What they've done this year is kind of fall in line, and I assume they wanted to get back on the White House Christmas card list, but people who are not active Democrats, independent observers, have said it has no impact on inflation at all over the long term, and actually increases it slightly in the short term. So Furman and Summers were certainly helpful as active Democrats in describing last year's bill, but this year they're sort of falling in line because I think they want to get back in the good graces of the White House.
What do you say to the House GOP members specifically, because this is where it's coming from a lot? It's criticism of you and your leadership on these bipartisan deals, infrastructure, guns, most recently the CHIPS bill, semiconductors, and they say you're giving the president of an opposition party major victories that they're now using to prop up him with low approvals.
Well, I guess they've forgotten the Supreme Court that I helped usher into, 3 new Supreme Court justices, the 2017 tax bill. And let me answer the criticism. I think just because you have closely divided government doesn't mean you do nothing. The past 2 administrations tried to achieve bipartisan infrastructure, didn't get it done. We needed to rescue the post office. Just because there's a Democrat in the White House, I don't think means Republicans should do nothing that's good for the country in the meantime. On the big issues, we are totally opposed to what this administration is trying to do. But on things like school safety, mental health, infrastructure, postal reform, why would we not want to make progress for the country no matter who's in the White House?
Just moments ago, the Senate passed the NATO expansion that signs off on adding Sweden and Finland. You said, if any senator is looking for a defense to vote no, I wish them good luck. It's a slam dunk for national security. That's what you said. What do you say to an American military family that says sending U.S. troops to defend Sweden or Finland's territorial integrity, if they're intact, is not a slam dunk for them?
Well, look, I would say the NATO alliance is the most successful military alliance in world history. The way to prevent Americans from having to actively involved in combat is to prevent it in the first place. And that's what NATO is about. It won the Cold War without firing a single shot. Putin has succeeded not only in actually expanding NATO and making it even more effective as a deterrent. Remember, Reagan said peace through strength, and that's what NATO is all about, and that's why Finland and Sweden add a lot to NATO.
There are Republican campaigns now here in the U.S. around the country focusing on the record-setting illegal immigration on the border. To you, right now, what is a bigger national security threat? Russia in Ukraine and what's happening there, or the situation on our southern border?
I don't think you have to pick. I think they're both important. I mean, we both need to secure the border, which the previous administration did an excellent job of, and we need to beat the Russians in Ukraine. It's important to do that. The Prime Minister of Japan, concerned about President Xi in China, said, you want to send Xi a message? Defeat Putin in Ukraine.
Do you think abortion plays a bigger issue, especially after this Kansas vote last night? Politico writes, Roe jolts the midterms. The heavily Republican state rejected an anti-abortion constitutional amendment. It marked a political earthquake with the potential to reshape the entire midterm campaign. You buy that?
Well, I think what the Supreme Court has done is said people who are elected by the American people are going to deal with this highly sensitive issue, and it'll be playing out all year. And I don't think we really know until the end of the year what kind of an impact putting this issue back into the hands of those of us who are elected, as opposed to 9 unelected judges, will have on the country. We're in the process of finding that out.
Do you think Kansas tells you something about that?
It tells us that there were a lot of people interested in the issue in Kansas. There's no question about that.
Senator, you're losing some of your most trusted lieutenants, Rob Portman, Pat Toomey, Richard Burr. You could be looking, as I mentioned, J.D. Vance, Mehmet Oz, Ted Budd. You have Trump-loyal Republicans like Eric Schmidt, who just won in Missouri, Blake Masters in Arizona. And some of those candidates have refused to say on the trail that they back you as leader. Is that the new face of a Trump-ified Republican Party? And are you the guy to lead that in the Senate?
Yeah. Well, look at it this way. I've been elected 8 times without opposition. If I haven't, I don't own this job, and there's always an election every 2 years for leader. If anybody wants to challenge me, have at it.
If you don't win the majority, are you still going to be leader?
I am.
Senator McConnell, always welcome back on Special Report. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brett.